but for right now, I remember. Did you dye your hair? Shh, he says. Chup, he says. That's nice. Uh, well, you've been fans of his storytelling, चाहे वो फिल्मों में हो या फिर, one of his absolute masterpieces, Scam 1992, more recently, if you're a fan of that, or Buckingham Murders, that was in the cinemas. Please put your hands together for the wonderful Hansal Mehta Sahab. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute honor to share the stage with you. Few of you have the hand mic, and few of you have lapels. Bhavna ji, I'll share my mic with you. I'm going to start off, honestly, we're just going to dive into it, guys. All right? I'm going to start off by asking each of you a common question, which is, when did you discover Guru Dutt? And what was that discovery for you? Was it a film? Was it a line of poetry? Was it a song? Bhavna ji, we can start with you.
I think I didn't have to wait to discover him because as a film scribe, I was always talked about him by my seniors and therefore had the urge to investigate, watch his films. And when I was in college, we used to have something called a matinee show. And that matinee show always showed these black and white films of Guru Dutt. So we used to bunk college and watch these movies and then discuss it in the canteen with the boys and the girls. So I think he was always there.
When did you discover Guru Dutt?
Well, when I was in college, I used to see a lot of films, and I was a film buff. And I had decided that after my graduation, I'll go to film industry and join Mr. Guru Dutt for a few years, a couple of years, and then I'll become a director. When you are 18 years old, things are very simple and easy. So that is what I had decided, but so very unfortunate that I came to Bombay in 64, 4th of October, and he passed away on 10th of October. So I could never even see him. But that's how it is. I have been very fortunate otherwise. There are so many writers, so many directors, so many actors whom I have admired in my college days. And then I got opportunity to spend hours and days with them. But Guru Dutt is one exception that I could not beat. And I really had thought that when I go, somehow I'll manage, because Sahir Sahab was a very good friend of Guru Dutt and he had written songs for Pyaasa. So I thought this connection will work and I'll assist him for a while. But it did not happen. I was highly impressed by Guru Dutt in my college days, and forgive me for my modesty, which will come in my conversation again and again, when I was 17, 18, I used to refuse to see films of certain superstars because I believed that they are hams and bad actors. And it means I had some choice. And Guru Dutt had made a deep impression on me in my teenage also. Because I think he was the first person. We had great directors like Mehboob, like Bimal Roy, like other directors before them also in new theatre. But Guru Dutt was the first person who spoke through visuals. So that is the first thing. The other people were good directors, took good performances, shot at right location, create the right ambience in the picture, and so on, and well-written films. But talking through the visual was taught to us by Guru Dutt.
Please.
Oh, okay. Of course, I've heard of Guru Dutt. I've seen bits. I think I remember seeing his film long back. But for me, Hindi cinema began with Bachchan. And Javed Sahab was the one who actually pushed me to discover Dilip Kumar also, other times. And I discovered a lot of it very late. And Guru Dutt, actually, a very strange kind of a thing happened. One day at FTI, they were doing a homage to Guru Dutt, and I think his family was coming, some people from his family. and they wanted me to kind of talk of Guru Dutt. I said, why me? I don't know anything about Guru Dutt. Then I said, no, I think they'd like you to speak. So in that 2 weeks, I watched everything that Guru Dutt had made, acted in, his documentaries, everything written about him, and I saw all his movies, and I was just stunned. Okay, and I couldn't finally end up. The day before that, some very big personal emergency happened, so I couldn't end up going there. But that repository of emotion that was in me actually stunned me because I couldn't explain it. I've never felt so happy feeling sad. You know, it was so moving, and I was cherishing and loving that sorrow inside me. And when I was writing Chup, then I suddenly discovered what I used the things that I had learned, that I had watched and prepared for this thing. I had said, this is actually a note to an artist like that. What if Guru Dutt was just one neuron went the other way? What would he be? And that's how I actually discovered Guru Dutt very, very late in life.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Balki sir, for sharing. Sudhir sir, I wonder if you have your lapel on. Could you see? I think you need that.
Yeah. It's weird to talk about this young man called Guru Dutt since we've now become older. We are all older than Guru Dutt, which is fascinating, you know. Because I grew up, I mean, as we have grown up in cinema, he stayed there, and here I am, 65 years old, and, you know, I can finally say Guru, you know, my friend, right? So it's beautiful, and he's never left me. So I don't know where I first saw Guru Dutt as a 12-year-old with my grandmother, who very identified with Meena Kumari because my grandfather had also left her. So in this Lucknow large house, she went to Sahab Bibi Ghulam often, and when I sort of was of an age where she could take me, I saw that film about 6 or 7 times with her because there were re-releases. The film used to release, so those visuals, if there's one film that I couldn't take with me home to a desert island, it would be Sahab Bibi Ghulam. So it's a stunning film in many ways. And what is astounding about Guru Dutt, I mean, like people say, I mean, like Balki said, you feel sad, but you feel kind of strangely happy feeling sad. Because Guru Dutt opens up so many, he's an experience. Guru Dutt is an experience. You can see him again and again at different, like a great poem. You can watch Guru Dutt at 22 and it means something else. You see him. So as I have seen Guru Dutt every time, and I keep revisiting him, there is nothing that I have done in my life that is not influenced by him. Nothing. And I haven't measured up to him, that's another story. That's another story. I've been trying to. But, you know, every film that I have done, every shot that I have taken, every scene that I have written, every song that I have tried to picturize, you cannot imagine, I mean, I can't imagine it without Guru Dutt. He has taught us how to make films. He has taught us how to see a scene. He has told us how to take that blueprint, which is the script, and then rewrite it on film. He has taught us rhythm. If you see Pyaasa, you'll see it today. There is a shot in which Wahidur Rahman walks towards the camera. And I remember seeing this with Javed Akhtar. And there are 3 cuts on the same axis, which is totally wrong. But she's walking forward towards the camera and he's cutting forward. And it creates an impact which is magical. He does things because I think he's inventing what he's doing. He's not taught. He's a choreographer. He's 22, 23 years old. He's watching lots of Western films also. He's seeing German cinema. And I don't think we can talk about Guru Dutt without V.K. Murthy.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, if you talk about Guru Dutt, then you have to clap for Mr. Murthy, right? So, but together with Mr. Murthy, he does some things which are amazing, you know. And the women, that burst, the sensuality bursting out of each character. That young Wahida Rahman feeling something in Sahibi Ghulam, the widow or the housewife in the trapped Meena Kumari, all that feeling that comes out in, the actress, with her ambition and giving respect to that ambition in Kagaz Ke Phool. She's not some vamp. बिछड़े तो सभी तो बारी बारी बिछड़े लेकिन कोई वजह थी. He's not he's not a cheap filmmaker, therefore he doesn't bring down another character in order to raise another one. If you see that's the cheapest scriptwriting trick. No, you can drop somebody in order to raise someone. But all the characters, all the characters rise in his films. They are there and it creates a tapestry. So that's what he's taught us. I could talk for
Thank you, Sudhir
hours.
sir. No, we want that, of course. Hansal Sahab, thank you so much for joining us. I just have to let a cat in the pigeons and please.
No, I grew up knowing about him because my closest friend was his nephew. So we were in school from kindergarten until engineering college. We were together, we shared a room. So I used to hear stories about his uncle. So he was Mr. Devi Dutt's son, Sanjay. So he's one of my closest friends even now. We were school, college, we studied together. And I discovered his films much later. I used to hear about him as Sanjay's uncle. He had passed away much before we were born. But I watched, Pyaasa is the first film I saw, and it has left a lasting impression on me. So when I became a filmmaker, Pyaasa has been like a primer. It also, more than the number of films I've made, I think I've had more heartbreak than the number of films I've made. Heartbreak in love. And, every time Guru Dutt has taught me that, pitting oneself can actually be beautiful. And I suddenly began to think of self-sympathy as a virtue, as something that I should celebrate. And that heartbreak is actually, very, very cinematic. And that I wish I can make a film that talks about heartbreak and love one day, just to pay tribute to the person who's influenced me. The first work, the first time I shot on film was in 1994 in FTI. I did not know anything. It was like fully plagiarized song sequence from Kagaz Ke Phool. The light passing down, an arc light from the roof. Same, we tried to replicate the same thing and do it in color. It was the most vulgar replication of Kagaz Ke Phool. And fortunately, those negatives are destroyed. That music video is with Z Music, who doesn't give a damn. And I'm so happy that it's over, and I will make a better tribute to him someday.
Thank you so much, Hansal, for sharing. That's so lovely. Bhavna ji, and forgive me because I have quite a task here. I have to have everybody say enough. But I'm going to ask you, because what Sudhir sir said was so amazing, I think, because here we are, we're two women. And I loved what you said about the fact that his women were so powerful. They had agency and they had jobs more than anything else. Thank you very much. There was an era of cinema जहाँ पर वो सिर्फ पापा की परी ही बन के रह गई थी. But during that time, which is the 50s, when he was making these films, in his first film, his lead actress was a doctor. And I felt that was so respectful. And it's also about the time, because at that time, they looked at women differently. So could you take a few minutes, maybe a couple of you, to talk about how that was also an important part of his filmmaking, that he was not just making films, he was also showing up a mirror to society and asking us to be better. Bhavna ji.
Somehow I don't look at it like that. I just felt that when I went to watch his movies, I was seduced by the frames, the aesthetics, even his poetry, the morality, the characterizations, and the roles the women played. And there are absolutely marvelous women characters in his films, and so many of them are my favorites. I love Gulabo in Pyaasa, and I have a very beautiful memory associated with Gulabo because when I interviewed Wahida Rahman for my book Mother, Maiden, Mistress, she explained to me that when she had to, because I love the song Jaane Kya Tune Kahi. So I said, Wahida ji, आप इतने खूबसूरत लग रहे हो उस गाने में, तो आपको क्या ब्रीफ दी थी गुरुदत्त साहब ने? तो उन्होंने कहा कि मैं 16 साल की थी और मुझे मालूम नहीं था कि स्ट्रीट वॉकर क्या होता है, और गुरुदत्त साहब को थोड़ा सा ऑकवर्ड लग रहा था कि हाउ डज ही एक्सप्लेन टू हर. सो ही टोल्ड Vahida ji's mother that please explain to her that she's playing this character. So after a while, when he got back to the set and he asked the mother that, did you tell her? And she said, no, I didn't know how to do it. So Gurudutt sir said to Vahida ji that you will walk a few steps aage, then you will turn back, look at the camera, smile, and then again walk 3 steps ahead. And he showed it to her and he said, but don't do it like me, you do it like yourself. And I think she's so ethereal when she does that. Another favorite of mine is Sahib Bibi aur Gulam mein, of course, the Choti Bahu. I would not like to classify her that she's a homemaker or whether she's regressive or what she, all that politics I don't want to get into at the moment. I just feel she's so wonderful. She has an equation with this Gulam. He's her friend. She seeks him out when she is in trouble. And my favorite song in the film is not Na Jao Saiya, of course, but Pyaasa jiya mein samaye gayo re. Because it is all about the Shringar Rasa. And we have seen many songs about seduction, whether the vamp does it or the heroine does it. But very few songs have been about Shringar Rasa and the whole dressing up for the man who is going to come and who is a beloved and waiting for it. And finally, she's just so wonderful. I love this song and I love everything. So there are many more characters, but I would like to give others a chance.
Any gentleman on the panel would like to take that?
Gurudutt doesn't see women in a condescending way at all, I think. Marquez once said the trick to understanding women is to know that they are as capable of betrayal as you are. I think Gurudutt instinctively understands that. He delves into psyches, into characters, they become metaphors. So, I identify with Meena Kumari in many other ways. When I see her not just as anyone trapped in a situation not of their own making. It's of wanting to get out, of being in an oppressive, so it becomes even a metaphor for an oppressive. That's the great thing about great cinema, no? Or great poetry. It arouses things not directly in you, but many things, So I don't know. It's women, all his characters, including his women. Rahman, for example, there's a counterpoint from Sahib Bibi Ghulam. You see Meena Kumari, but you also see Rahman. But you don't despise him. He's equally trapped in whoever he is, his being, his feudalism, his ideas. Because after all, we are all accidents. And I think Gurudutt also instinctively, people trapped in this world, so he's looking at them, different people, and their predicaments, and out of that, but there is a story and they are in conflict, and they must be in conflict, and he has to be in someone's side. So he's on the side of the marginalized, the poet. He's on the side of it's not that he's neutral in a sense. Just because he can understand the other doesn't mean he's neutral. But he's, in a sense, the world is so beautifully described that then that predicament becomes even more, It's very deep, the what he arouses in you, in a sense, and it's an experience you can't intellectualize. I don't think you should intellectualize Gurudutt that much.
Well, thank you
He's
so
an
much,
experience,
yes.
and he's only possible in cinema.
Absolutely.
Gurudutt is the one, you have to experience Gurudutt.
I agree with you. And if you are at this point somebody in this hall who hasn't yet, then this is going to be amazing for you because all these films are going to be in the theatre this weekend. Javed Sahab, I have always wanted to ask you this, and I'm so happy we're doing this today. Way back in the 50s, he was able to make a film or have a character that was a poet. And just to show us, the trappings of being a poet, aaj ke zamane mein, and I'm going to contextualize it, I don't know if we're brave enough to have a lead character be the poet and then have all of these inner workings of his mind actually play out on the big screen. What was that for you like? And did that poet ever influence you or your poetry?
Well, that poet was Sahir, the songs, and they were a very important part of the film. But let me go back a little what we were talking about. You know what happens? That there are certain things which are not done in art on conscious level, and they should not be done. Good art doesn't happen only on conscious level. It is an exercise in paradox. You see, any art, whether it is filmmaking, whether it's poetry, whether music, whether writing a short story, novel, whatever, or a symphony. On one hand, you need passion, imagination, fantasy, romance. On the other hand, you need something which is totally contrary, which moves exactly in the opposite direction, that is craft, which is calculated, which is mathematical, which is surgical. And you use both the things together. It's a paradox. Art is created in this paradox. So many times things happen, things are written, poems are written, novels are written, films are made, and then when people see that, they say, he empowered women. He had a soft corner for the poor people. You see, he was broad-minded enough to stand up for people who have different sexual inclinations, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is that the filmmaker had not made this on the conscious level. It is deep somewhere in his subconscious, his sense of morality, his sense of aesthetics, his sense of decency, his sense of justice, which works. If you do it on conscious level, it will be propaganda. You will know that this is a theory, not the feeling. This is calculated. You are making a statement. Art should not make a statement. The reader or the listener should find the statement in it. Nice. Artist should not do it. Artist should do what he feels or she feels is right. And this work is created not on conscious level totally. Like countries, there is a no man's land between the conscious mind and subconscious mind. Ultimately, good art is created at that no man's land. When he was making films, he was not conscious, I'm sure, and it shows that now I am empowering this character. Now she should have dignity. No, it was coming naturally because that was his aesthetics, that was his sense of decency, that was his sense of morality. On unconscious level, we have experienced this in our limited, humble career, that people say, that angry young man was the voice of that. We had no idea. We had no idea that this angry young man that we are writing in early 70s had anything to do with the emergency or people's lack of confidence of institutions, and that is why this vigilante is appearing in a script. No, we were just writing a script. And I'm happy that we did not know. And I hope that Gurudutt also did not know many things which we see in his films. Because if you know, then you are looking at the society and the audience from outside. If you don't know and you are breathing the same air, your aesthetics, your feeling is in sync with the society in which you are living. And that is better, that is advisable. That if we know, then we are relying more on our craft. We don't know our fantasies, and that is how it ought to be. Another thing I would like to say, you see, nowadays we go to New Zealand, we go to Swaziland, we go to Switzerland for good locations, good sets, good costumes. Guru Dutt was not dependent on that. The beauty in his case lied his own eyes. I'll give you an example. Now look at this theatre. It's not a very cinematic place. I mean, if you want to picturize a song which is 6-7 minutes long, this is the last place you should shoot that song. But Guru Dutt saw a lot of visual in this auditorium. ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है, is a long song with almost similar stanzas after stanzas and after stanzas. And it's shot in auditorium. From there, he is standing crucified at the door. And then he enters. And the breaks are not in the set, but in the lighting. How he could shoot a song which we'll never forget on a bed. न जाओ सैया छुपा छुड़ा के भैया. 90% song was on the bed, and ultimately Meena Kumari was graceful enough to get off the bed. That's all. That's all. And it is one of the finest picturized songs. So we lack somewhere inside, we try to find outside. Guru Dutt was not dependent on locations ever. Guru Dutt's visual, his frame used to make the location. Name any other director, even today, who can do that. He has taught us so much that we will take generations to learn that. There is no doubt about it. I mean, his songs, ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या, जिन्हें नाज है हिंद पर वो कहाँ, they are not great melodies, they are straight songs. And each of these songs had at least 6 or 7 stanzas. Can you imagine holding a song with a kind of monotony in the tune, if I may say so? Perhaps I am not finding the better word because of my modest English, but the fact is that it is not a great musical item. How it is holding? It is holding because the director is feeling the song. He is making the song as a part of your conscience. I have not seen many people doing that. He was really unusual. He was still, we are talking about, I mean, I'm feeling like some kind of an old historical relic here, because, I mean, somebody tells me that he discovered Dilip Kumar because of me, and then I come to know.
I discovered because he's not alive.
But now you have discovered Guru Dutt, you have discovered Dilip Kumar, you must go to USA also. So,
Where must I go?
USA, but they discovered that also. So, the fact is that the technology has reached from somewhere to somewhere. No need to go into detail. Technique, technical facilities, special effects, and at the same time we are miles and miles behind him. I mean, when will we reach somewhere near him? I don't know.
Thank you, Javed Saab. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to add to what Javed Saab said. You know, Guru Dutt's films, remarkably, the principal performances were never great. Like Guru Dutt himself, I don't think, this is my personal unpopular opinion, not a great actor, but the craft, the overall cinema of that moment was stronger. It was not dependent on that one central performance. It was all the elements of cinema coming together, lighting, framing, the way scenes were staged. So that entire, so when you talk about craft, you know, we often say that performance acha nahi hai. You don't notice that because the cinematic experience itself is so powerful that it overpowers his own inadequacy as an actor. So you remember that frame. Ye duniya agar mil bhi jaye to kya hai, standing like Jesus Christ. But I mean, as an actor, I found him fairly blank. If I look at him, I don't need to. because everything else in that is so complete.
Sir, now I'm taking advantage of my age because I know many more things. Guru Dutt, when the script of Pyaasa was written, although I have not met him, but I knew many people who were very close to him, like Abrar Alvi, like Sahir Saab, like Kafi Saab, who wrote for. So I know many incidents. And Guru Dutt's studio and Kamal's studio were in the same compound. And I have slept in Kamal's studio for 2-3 years. So people who were working with Guru Dutt, I knew them, their team and everybody. Besides that, people who were senior assistants of Kamal Lori, they also knew Guru Dutt very well. So I had many sources to know about him and I was interested. When Pyaasa, the script was written, Guru Dutt went to Dilip Saab and he said, this is the script, I want you to play this role. Dilip Saab heard the script and he said, now you see, I have recently worked in a film which has same kind of a triangle, Chandramukhi and Paru and Devdas. So it's almost similar triangle. So it will look very similar. And refused. He went back. He cast himself. He made 7 reels of that film and then went back to Dilip Kumar. And he said, you see these 7 reels. This role belongs to you. Because you said no, I did it. But even now, when you are looking at these 7 reels, if you feel, I'll scrap this and we'll make it again. Dilip Saab said, but no, it is not practical because अभी मेरा तो प्राइस अलग होता है तो अब उसमें कैसे आप एडजस्ट करेंगे. He said, that's not the problem. मैंने अपने को भी कास्ट करके जितने में बेचा उसमें आपका प्राइस आ जाएगा. वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. But I genuinely feel that it is your own. But he did not do it. And Dilip Saab once told me that he repents 2-3 films that he refused. Baiju Babra was offered to him and he did not do it because perhaps he could not understand the intensity. And Pyaasa. And third, I'm very shyly saying Zanjeer.
Sorry, I'm just going to take a second and मुझे ताज्जुब हो रहा है इस वक्त के वहाँ पर इससे ज़्यादा दिलचस्प क्या ही बातें हो सकती हैं. तो मेरी ये दरख्वास्त होगी कि जहाँ से whispers आ रही हैं थोड़ा सा इज्जत हमें नवाजें प्लीज, बिकॉज आई एम श्योर योर कॉन्वर्जेशन इज नॉट एज इंटरेस्टिंग एज आवर कॉन्वर्जेशन. ये बात मैं आपको कह सकती हूँ गारंटी से. बाद में इत्मीनान से बातें कीजिएगा. हम जोर से बोले एक्चुअली अगर थोड़ी सी फुसफुसाहट कम हो जाएगी तो मे बी यू लिसन टू अस. कैन यू हियर अस गाइस? दिस रो. सॉरी सर, यू कैन हियर अस?
So volume, maybe it was my mistake. I kept.
थोड़ा सा वो माइक नीचे था.
But don't worry, you have not missed much.
Yes, thank you so much. Back to you, Balki sir. I want to ask you one thing. You know, in Chup, you talk about how the burden of criticism destroys Guru Dutt. I often wondered after watching your film that if Guru Dutt was here today, और वो आज की criticism देखते, तो क्या वो इस दौर को survive कर पाते? तो मुझे आपसे पूछना है कि क्या ये ख्याल जो है, did it cross your mind when you were writing that film?
Yeah, actually, many things crossed my mind besides that. To me, actually, Guru Dutt, you know, we live in an era where resilience is more celebrated than sensitivity. You know, I always find we talk of the resilient and not the sensitive. And the gap between the two, with a bit of human effort, is a lot of luck. You know, sensitivity can become resilience with a little bit of luck. But sensitivity, if not supported by that luck, goes down a hell of a lot. And as artists, you know, as the most sensitive artists, it is very surprising how the most sensitive, all of us have gone through that stuff. We pick that out. We love to celebrate a person who's fallen and come up. We never love to celebrate a person who's fallen and the sensitivity behind that fall. And Guru Dutt to me is an epitome of sensitivity. I don't think, I don't want to talk about his films because I'm not qualified to talk about the craft of any other person in the world because I've just made a film, Killing Critics, so I can't be one. But the fact of the matter is, to me as an artist, he inspires me to be actually, to just remember that sensitivity. It's very important sometimes to feel vulnerable, sometimes to kind of not be understood by many people, but you just know what you're doing. You just go on, go on. Today the pressure is a lot more on artists to kind of conform, to kind of do this, to look at these forces, look at that forces, because there are 1,000 people coming and telling you what you're doing is stupid. Okay, everybody's telling me. Now I'll give you a small thing which Madhu Mantena had put up yesterday, and I think it's one of the most beautiful things that I have read. This is something very true for all of us artists, and it's quite beautiful. Why? He says, let us always remember that a truly creative mind, abnormally, even inhumanly sensitive. To them, a touch is a blow, a sound is a noise, a misfortune is a tragedy, a joy is ecstasy, and failure feels like death. Add to this the strange, unknown inward urgency to pour out creation, because they are not truly alive unless they're creating. Beautiful thing for all artists. And that's all an artist is. Everything else just happens to that person. And for Guru Dutt, it did happen a lot of times. It didn't happen once. And that once, actually, nobody can understand, nobody can explain that. But that one would have hurt so much. And that hurt is very beautiful, because for an artist like me, I actually celebrate that hurt. I actually want to just hold on to that stuff. And that's all I did in Chup. I just said, what if that person, what if today he didn't go deep into himself and kind of destroy himself, but instead decided to kind of destroy somebody else who'd caused him that hurt. An artist can also do that. Why can't he do that? So to me, Guru Dutt is an inspirational artist. The heart of Guru Dutt is what I love. I mean, it's all over his films, but more I watch his films, I always look at that vulnerability of the filmmaker. I never look at craft in a film. I always look at the feel in a film, and I just don't want to process it, don't want to add words to it, but I just want to feel that vulnerable feeling of a person who's trying to kind of just pour out his heart.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing. Javed Saab.
I'll say that Guru Dutt ji was like a hero of a Shakespearean tragedy. In all the tragedies of Shakespeare, have a hero who is perfect, who is exceptional, who is talented, who is victorious, he does everything fine. He has one weakness. In case of one, it was indecision, to be or not to be. In case of some Macbeth, it is ambition.